Unleash Ultima!
She's still in there.
Sid, has there been no word?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
She's going to make it, I know she is. There! There!
Oh! Damnation! Oh!
Let's go.
Hello once again, my chickadees. Game & Chick is back once again with the biggest and longest review I've ever done. Before we get started into this behemoth, I'd like to give a big thank you to Square-Enix for providing me with a review copy of Endwalker in order to make this review possible. Thank you so much. And so now with that having been said, let's go! A Realm Reborn. With 1.0 crashing and burning to the ground, all hopes now fell to Naoki Yoshida, better known to all of us as Yoshi P, to deliver us an experience that was worthy of the Final Fantasy name. Coming on board near the end of 1.0's lifespan, he and his team tried to make the game work as best as possible, but it came to a point where nothing can really be done. No amount of patches can fix how much of a broken mess of a game that 1.0 was. It was at this point that Yoshida decided that something drastically needed to be done to not only protect the company's reputation with its longtime fans, but also to save the Final Fantasy brand in general. And he came up with two options. One option was to keep the base game of 1.0 up and running and just hope that people stick around long term, or the second option, nuke it. Nuke it to oblivion, scrap it and restart. This was a monumental task to undertake, but necessary for everyone involved. Thankfully, he ended up getting the green light to move forward with his vision and ideas. Yoshida then announced the game would be rebooted and that the end of the service would come with version 1.2.5.b. What the hell? I'm not paying to play a broken game, just have you guys release another one for us to pay and buy, comrade. Sorry, not sure why I went Russian there. But Yoshida did agree with that sentiment completely. As a 1.0 player myself, it was a widely shared opinion. We as customers have been treated like second-class citizens, ignored, and official forums deleted so that we couldn't offer feedback. We felt disrespected. Yoshida saw this and wanted to make it right and apologized directly to all of us who stuck around through the mess. So as a huge loss to the company and a major apology to all the fans around the world, Yoshida announced that 1.0 until its shutdown will be free for everyone currently subscribed, and upon the release of A Realm Reborn, everyone subscribed will get the game for free when it launches on PC. Wow, that's pretty generous and amazing, right? Well, it didn't stop there. For us longtime players, as an extra thanks and gratitude for us being the original members, we were given a new label as citizens of Eorzea, the name of Legacy Players. As Legacy Players, we got a special chocobo mount, special tattoos on the back of our character's neck, signifying that we were there the day Dalamud fell, and finally, we are all in the in-game credits with our names. Super awesome! He went above and beyond to show us longtime players that he cared, and that he would do everything in his power to show us that he will do his best. It's rare to have someone do that for you, especially in a big company. But all those good gestures wouldn't mean anything if the game wasn't any good, right? Exactly. So was this reboot worth it? Absolutely. Upon starting your game and picking between your race of Mequote, Hyre, Elizan, Lalafell, or Rogadan, which I'd rather call Mithra, Hume, Elvan, Taru, and Galka, because that's what I'm used to calling them in Final Fantasy XI. You'll notice things in A Realm Reborn right from the start are vastly different. Once being a title that couldn't do anything right, no matter how hard it tries, suddenly has an identity of an actual functioning MMO. With each character class that you choose having their own action and trait abilities that you can equip and set to your hotbars. Actions being the abilities you can designate to specific keys, and your traits being tied to your actual class itself. Think of it more as a passive trait, a trait for your job that upgrades upon meeting the requirement of being a certain level to warrant its use. The combat here in A Realm Reborn has also been massively tweaked as well, with the mechanics being aimed at being more action-based with its cooldowns for abilities. Each class having different rotations to use in battle in order to be the most efficient for their class, and strong focus on solo play over team-based play that has actually plagued many MMOs in the past. Solo play? Yes, I said that, solo play. Realm Reborn focuses a lot on the player being able to play the way they want to play. Sometimes people might just want to play by themselves, but are punished for doing so in other MMOs. However, here in A Realm Reborn, other than some mandatory story dungeons, you're basically able to play most of the game by yourself, should you choose that route. How, you say? Well, I'll get back more info on that in just a minute. But for now, I'd like to touch on just what the heck will be going on in the story, all while you're still trying to figure out all the controls, and even snap out of your shock because the UI for the game isn't an actual abomination for once. Shocking, right? Shortly before you head to the Adventurer's Guild to start your adventure, your character awakens on a chocobo cart and is en route to your destination, Ulda, Limsa, or Gridania, to presumably make ends meet as a Sprout adventurer. However, you notice something is wrong with your character once again, with your warrior getting strange visions of the past just like before. Don't worry, it's nothing bad, it's just the blessing of light known as the Echo, bestowed upon you by Hydaelyn herself. Phew, that's a relief. I thought it was going to be a brain tumor like in the movie Phenomenon. Crisis averted. After a short while of you completing quests from Amodi in the Adventurers Guild, which consists largely of fetch quests, killing monsters, and learning how to participate in leaves for leveling, you gain the eye of Minfilia, a woman also blessed with the Echo, and whom you've previously met in the 1.0 version of the story. It is here that the adventure truly begins, and things really start who you will grow with over the course of your journey, for now and into the foreseeable future, with those characters being Thancred, Yida, and Y'shtola. All of this sounds very similar to 1.0, and honestly, it kind of is, since this title is a mixture of both a reboot and a sequel in a way, with both stories weaving back and forth between each other. While there may be quite a bit of similarities, there are also several things that are different in this entry, both good and bad. The good being a larger focus on player comfort. No longer are you punished if you want to play as a class or character as much as you want to. Friends list actually being a thing this time, with everyone fully visible and easily addable, ability to send mogmail with Gil or items to other players, market boards actually serving a purpose, with every item being searchable by players, people with retainers who sell their drops from dungeons they may not need, or character-created gear forged with materia that is stronger than normal armor. While yes, those are great, the fun doesn't stop there either. When you're not enthralled in a story that sees you span across the entire world of Eorzea, slay primals such as Ifrit and Titan, learn more about the mysteries of the group known as Ashians, joining a grand company for a major city-state to be able to complete nation-based missions that allow you to gain the ability to own your chocobo mount, as well as summon it in battle as a secondary companion to aid you in battle, and then finally, you are hammered with side content that gives you no end to the amount of content that you may take part in during your playthrough of this entry. Oh boy, where do I even start? You know, making a review of literally 6 different forms of this game isn't exactly an easy task. I've never tried to explain an MMO overall before. But enough whining, let's keep going. When you decide to take a break from the main scenario, your main options are to travel, level, or group with friends. Sure, you have the option to learn crafting or set off into the open world and mine for some materials, but for now let's focus on the combat side of things. Traveling in this title is a big part of why the game appeals to me so much as a legacy player. I see the changes made to each zone, from its structure to its layout, the enemy placement and its design, but even for newcomers, each zone offers its fair share of beauty and intrigue. Whether it's the deserts of Thanalan outside of Ulda, the beautiful landscape of Summerford Farms overlooking the ocean near Limsa and Laminsa, or the fresh forests of Binbranch Meadows in the Shroud outside of Gridania. All of these areas having multiple zones of north, south, west exits and entrances, all of them feeling unique, alive, and robust in their creation. Hell, even the Shroud finally got a much-needed facelift and isn't copy and pasted anymore. Plus, we can jump now. It's like if Neo was connected to his uplink, but instead of learning Kung Fu, he just learns how to jump. I know jump fu. Word of advice though, when you're actually exploring the world around you, should you come to a main town in any of the areas you visit, it's imperative that you sync with the nearby aetheryte crystal. Doing this will allow you to warp back to this location at any given point in time using your Gil. Using Gil as a means to teleport? Ugh, finally! No more friggin' anima. I know, this shouldn't be a huge deal, but once again, you have no idea the amount of headache that we got put through with it. While you enter battles against enemy mobs during these said travels, it's key to know about the specific class you're playing and your job. In my case, I started off as a pugilist, but then by advancing in my pugilist-themed quest line in my city-state of Ulda, this unlocked my ability to become a monk. Your job quests are vital to your future dungeon play, as completing these quests not only gives you artifact gear, but also unlocks skills that only your job can unlock through these specific quest lines. It operates in a similar way to what was done in Final Fantasy XI with its main job and sub-job, with your main job being at least level 30 and sub-job at 15. Same overall principle applies here. Using the abilities learned from class quests also gives you as a player a chance to create the ultimate class, and mix and match abilities from other jobs you leveled up in order to make this the most potent healer or balanced fighter. This is crucial if you're thinking about soloing or even gaining more offensive and defensive spells to use, with each offensive spell having a specific requirement on their attack rotation. Myself, for instance, as a monk, some abilities will work or be more efficient on the sides or behind an enemy, etc. Each job also plays their party role, just like in all other MMOs, no real big brainer here. Tank is the leader of the party who acts like a meat shield to keep the mob hate off the rest of the party. DPS is in charge of creating the most amount of damage. Mage is healing and buffing to keep the party alive, and so forth. Should your group ever fail, however, just blame the healer. It always works. After learning a bit about your class, their abilities, traits, seeing the world, taking part in leaves, which consist of taking on small missions to kill a specific amount of mobs for EXP, which, thank Heidelin, aren't as annoying as in the previous version, participate in fates as you party up with others by locating special blue circle points on your map that act as dynamic events that come and go based off of inactivity or completion. Fates will also give you not only EXP, but special items too, depending on if the world event is going on at the time. Most of these fates involve killing a handful of enemies or even one gigantic monster, which takes dozens of people to fend off. That can be pretty fun, but even after doing all that, you've still got more story to push through. So now that you've got the basic idea of how you actually work the game with its mechanics, class abilities, traits, and leveling, let's dip our toes back into the narrative and its characters a little bit more, shall we? As one of the main focal points for this MMO, we can't just overlook them. As the story starts to pick up and you get introduced more to the main characters, and you begin to form a relationship with each one, some emotions like mine, ranging from, oh, I like them, or good lord, shut up, I hate you. Thancred, who is Ladies' Man, comes off as a really cool and savvy guy with some mystique about him. Y'shtola seeming very wise and intelligent. Minfilia coming off as a mother figure to everyone around her. Yda being useless and annoying. Alisei having some serious sass, which I love. And then there's Alphanod. You know, I really hated this kid early on. I mean, like a lot.
Since you are so observant, mayhap you noticed what mention was made of the Warriors of Light? None. I suppose they must have forgotten the heroes who spared Eorzea a fate worse than the Calamity?
He's arrogant, pompous, egotistical, and you would swear that if he farted in an enclosed room, he'd pull out a jar and save him some for a whiff of it later because he likes the smell of his own crap that he's pushing. Sorry, I'll compose myself. My point here being that Final Fantasy XIV from the start is all about the characters and their development. Yes, they might be annoying in the right here and right now, but quite a few of them become very likable and even relatable. You really do feel their pain and suffering that they go through the more you learn about them and interact with them, and become extremely attached to them as people and as friends. Well, everyone except Yda. She exists just to hog screen time because they have nothing else for her to do. Go away, Yda. As you and your Scion friend gain the attention of the mysterious Ashians, who are up to their own evil plot while lurking in the darkness, you learn that they're working hand in hand with the Empire to create a being so powerful that they can use it to take over the world. This weapon is known as Ultima Weapon. As you learn of this plot and push forward through the storyline further, you will learn of Sid, who is a master engineer who will help you make your way to and defeat the Primal Garuda, help create magic tech mechs from Final Fantasy VI to infiltrate the enemy fortress, which I dubbed Sid Adventures due to how many times you will grind it, join together the three main nations on one united front to fight the Empire, take on the Ultima Weapon in a final big showdown, learn more about the Ascians, and just what they have in store for the fate of Eorzea, as well as get framed for the murder of the Ulda Sultana and be forced to go on the run as a criminal, while you and your last remaining friend Alphinaud try to figure out how to clear everyone's names and make things right, while still also combating the new threats that arise from the Ascians. That's some pretty heavy stuff, right? Totally. The end of this expansion gets absolute bonkers with betrayals at the highest levels, friends seemingly falling in battle, companions sacrificing themselves for your cause, and even though you're a hero, you're now treated like you're Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. If this was the Marvel Universe, J.J. Jameson would be screaming at the top of his lungs for your arrest right now. It really does put you through a roller coaster of emotions though, and leaves you on the biggest of cliffhangers, making you really anticipate what's to come next. But hey bucko, you still aren't done yet. You still have in-game content to do with extreme trials that allow you to challenge primals or other instances at a harder level, which in turn can grant you exclusive weapons, gears, or mounts. You also learn about chocobo companions that allow you to take a chocobo into battle with you to act as a support player with healing or attacking skills, depending on what you want them to do, which is extremely useful if you feel like soloing, hunting logs for EXP, where you must kill whatever monster is listed in your book in order to gain an accumulated number of experience points by fulfilling your objectives in it. Dungeons are also an option to do for the in-game content. Even though early on and even till the end of the campaign, they aren't overly hard, but they still require a fair share of work. You can never just stand still and hope for the best, at least not later on, because as you progress through the story, so too does the game's mechanics, with each dungeon's boss battle or trial fight versus primals, or larger enemies, all require you to stay on your toes and dodge markers on the ground known as AoE, Area of Effect. A big orange hitbox that, were you to stand in it, will hit you with massive damage and enrage the healer in your party for being a blind piece of crap. Hey, don't give me that look, that's their words, not mine. The more you advance on into each expansion, the more these dungeons and their mechanics will become more nerve-wracking than the last, with implements of an eye symbol that pops up during your fights that requires you to face away from the enemy immediately or get paralyzed with stone, rotating floors that move about, combination attacks that require split-second movements, etc., etc. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is just A Realm Reborn. It might be tough for new players, but it's not nearly as challenging as you might think at first. All in all, you can definitely say that A Realm Reborn lives up to the name that it bears of Final Fantasy XIV. With its amazing world to explore, memorable characters, engaging combat mechanics for dungeons, gripping story, varied content like fates, hunting logs, leaves, daily quests for bonus XP, chocobo companions to fight alongside with, quality of life changes that doesn't punish you for playing, rotation-based skill strategies for fighting, these all make the game an absolute blast most of the time. It's not perfect though, however. Certain sections of the game can become a rather slog, both main game and post-patches leading up to Heavensward. With over 200 missions in total, prior to patch adjustment that is, it is more than any single expansion and their post-patches have individually. You'll be getting some hardcore PTSD really fast, mainly in regards to the Walking Sands. If I ever see that name in a game again, I will scream and punt me a Lalafell into the Bronze Lake in Lenoskia. You literally go back and forth from the Walking Sands to a fetch quest destination probably close to over 50 individual times. It's annoying, it's boring, it drags, and it's one of the main reasons that Realm Reborn can feel like such a chore to finish at times. But do your best to get through it, power through, munch those mech quote flakes, eat those Efreet hot Takis, because the best is yet to come. From here on out, Heavensward to Endwalker will be more streamlined, with more character and story talk over gameplay mechanics, unless major ones were implemented. This is because all the main mechanics you learn here will carry over to the rest of the game, so no need to go over these once again and becoming like a broken record. I will convey more of my feelings going forward. Let's just see how long I can keep it together, because this is a big 10+ year journey for me and an emotional time. Verdict? Good.